All right, Villanova in the Garden. Man, this is going to be fun. Tuesday night game. We're going to get you a full preview. Tyler's going to be at the game. I know you're pumped for that. Very exciting stuff. Big game for Syracuse. We'll dive into the matchups to know. We'll give our picks. We'll do prop shop, Dubundo's digits, all the good stuff coming your way next.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen every single weekday. Here with you guys Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us on YouTube as well. And this episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. The holidays are around the corner and finding the perfect gift is tricky. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter college into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. Tim Leonard, Tyler Aki. So this is going to be your first Syracuse game, Ty, since when? When's the last time you saw them in action?
So
live person.
Last basketball game was the NCAA tournament 2019, the loss to Baylor.
Okay.
Last Syracuse sporting event, I have to go back to NC State football 2019 season. It's always weird thinking like when the football season. So 2019 season, that would have been your senior year in college. So it'll be fun getting back together with a bunch of my old college buddies. So we're going to go out there. It's the late game, which most people hate. I love a good 9:30 tip.
Well, the funny thing is too, it's Tennessee and Texas Tech, I think, before, if I'm not mistaken, which no one's going to be there for that game. And then all of a sudden the late game's going to start, even though it's a Tuesday night, Syracuse, Nova.
I got to say, I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty liquored up crowd. I think it's going to be a pretty liquored up because you got the last game of the night. You got all that time to kind of get your pregame buzz going. I think it's going to be a pretty lubricated crowd by the time the Garden tips off for that Syracuse-Nova game.
So Villanova has 2 losses on the season. They played 3 top 10 teams in KenPom to date. They crushed Tennessee. They lost in overtime at UCLA, a really good game, and they lost 80-74.
Should have probably won that game too.
Yeah, they should have won against UCLA. Lost 80-74 to Purdue at Mohegan Sun. Purdue is the number 1 team in the country as of us recording this right now. So they've been tested. They also haven't really played anyone outside of those games and have just kind of beat up on St. Joe's and Mount St. Mary's and teams like that. But they are a team that I'm worried about from a standpoint of they're so good on offense every year. They seem like they're just a sight to behold on offense. Passing wise, they're always one of the best passing teams in college basketball. They're always extremely patient under Jay Wright on offense. And you look on KenPom, 348th in the nation right now in tempo. So Syracuse slows you down already, and they want to play at that pace. And they don't turn it over. 13th best team turnover rate in the nation right now as well. So this is going to be a true test for the 2-3 zone or the 1-1-3, whatever iteration of the zone comes out and how often they go to it. This is a team that really can shoot the basketball and protect the basketball really well.
And that's something that, think about the last couple of games for Syracuse. They've had the luxury of forcing a lot of turnovers. Like that Indiana game, what was the final number? 25 or 26 turnovers in that game?
25,
20, and then you look at Florida State. I mean, how many unforced turnovers did Syracuse, were they the beneficiary of a guy just maybe
only
cutting?
11 turnovers were forced according to the stats, but I hear you. It definitely felt like
seems like a lot more. Or at least they came in big moments, and it wasn't necessarily Syracuse forcing said turnovers as well. So that's something that worries me a little bit. And again, this is going to be, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking through the Syracuse schedule. This might be the best coach team Syracuse sees all season long, too. And it's a big venue, big sort of game. You've got a lot of veteran players on that other side. The guy who sort of scares me from who could be that high post player is Justin Moore. Scares me. Now, we have seen in the past where sometimes you don't put that guy at the high post. I think the perfect kind of parallel here is I thought Indiana would go with Miller Kopp at the high post. And they instead put him out on the wing because he was too good of a shooter. You didn't want to take away his shooting ability from the game as much, even though he is a really good passer, high assist rate, low turnover rate. That's kind of like what Justin Moore is, high assist rate, low turnover rate, but he also shoots 40% from 3. But I think if they did put Justin Moore there, and who knows, with Jay Wright, they might shuffle guys all across because there's only going to be 6 or 7 of them that end up playing the game.
Yeah, and they're all sort of similar type of players. There's not one clear-cut high post guy out of the group, so maybe we'll see multiple there. Their top 3 scorers, Colin Gillespie, who's been there for like 9 years and is always, it seems like, an All-American candidate. He's averaging 18 a game. Moore is averaging 15 a game, and he's had a couple 20-point games against good competition. And then Brandon Slater has really taken a step up for them this year. He wasn't a starter last year. They returned basically everyone but JRE and Cole Swider, I guess, so we can get into it. It is the Cole Swider Bowl,
Revenge
as some
game.
will label it, right? But Slater replaced Caleb Daniels in the starting lineup. Caleb Daniels will still play some, but those 3 guys I just mentioned, all averaging more than 14 a game, all shooting a good amount of threes, and they're all shooting over 40% from 3. Like, they are knockdown shooters, and they're getting clean looks because this is such a good passing offense.
And it's just, I mean, not just such a good passing offense. It's just such a good offense in general. 4th in the country per KenPom right now against a Syracuse defense that just took the leap from 180 to 156 thanks to that
We're coming,
game
baby.
against Florida State. So have they taken the turn? People are asking. We kind of addressed it on the last show. But hey, let's be honest on the other side too, all right? Syracuse is a damn good offense as well. They can shoot the lights out. We've seen Garden performances from unheralded guys in the past as well, like Jalen Carey, Matthew Moyer. Like, it feels like the Garden, some guy kind of gets up for it and maybe takes it a little more personal than some of the other guys, and they're given their moment, and it's helped Syracuse in the past. But listen, let's look at Villanova defensively. It's not like they're some sort of stud team defensively, okay? 45th in KenPom adjusted defensive efficiency, which sounds pretty good in the grand scheme of things, but let's not, I feel like the Syracuse defense has sort of taken a zombie approach of eating our brains of how good some of these defenses are. Like, 45 isn't that great for a Power 5 team, let alone a team that perennially you think of as one of the best teams in the country in Villanova.
Yeah, they're usually better on defense. They usually are a top 20, top 15 defense. They kind of lack that true rim protector, post defender that they have had in the past. And they really don't play anyone more than 6'8" tall. Now, most of their guys are switchable, and that's what they're going to do. They can work in some zone here or there, but it seems like what they're probably going to do against Syracuse is just switch everything. And for Syracuse, I guess they'll try and exploit Colin Gillespie, who's not a bad defender, but that's an opportunity where a buddy gets onto him. He could use his size. I think that's their weakest of the starting 5 in terms of defenders, because even their bigger guy, Eric Dixon, is pretty good at guarding in space, unlike some of the Florida State bigs were. So there's probably not a clear mismatch that Syracuse has like they were identifying against Florida State. And they also can press a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Villanova incorporates that sort of 1-2-2 press that they go to pretty often.
Which is pretty staggering to see from a team that plays 6-7 guys, right? Like that to me has always fascinated me with those short rotations that still play a lot of guys. But that beside the point here, I look at this game as you brought up the height on the other side. Nova's not going to throw anyone out there really taller than 6'8". This could be a Jesse 20, 22 point game if Syracuse decides to dictate it that way. Because if you get him in some pick and roll, and one thing that I've noticed with Jesse offensively, a couple of things actually. A, his hands have been really good. He's not dropping balls. But the second and maybe the most important thing that he's done, both rebounding the basketball as well as offensively, is he'll get a lob sort of pass up high to him, and he just kind of catches it and goes up with it in one motion. It's not an alley-oop per se, but he catches and goes up with it. He never comes down with it. And that, to me, against a team like Villanova, who's not going to have a lot of size, they're not going to block a lot of shots on you, that, to me, is a really good sign for a guy like Jesse Edwards to maybe have a really nice performance here. Because Villanova defensively, one of the worst teams in the country in block rate. So they're not going to be some sort of imposing team that's going to stop a lot of shots. And hey, that might help Samir Torrance as well. If he's getting up and down the floor and getting to the rim, he might have an easier time finishing against these guys as opposed to the Florida States. And Jimmy Boeheim, I noticed too in the first half of that Florida State game, struggled a little bit finishing at the rim, but second half he sort of figured it out, took some different angles. I
Yeah,
think
he
he'll have
still
a much
missed a couple
he still
layups,
missed a
but he
couple,
was
but I
good
think that's
overall.
more the length of Florida State bothering him. I don't think he's going to have that issue against a team like Villanova.
Yeah, that's been the difference. Villanova has had some teams that have been really good at defending the rim. These past 2 years, it hasn't really been the case, and that's probably what's held them back a little bit from being a truly great team. We'll have more on the matchups to watch. We'll dive into the prop shop in just a second, but you listen to podcasts for the power of the inside track. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money, because with Boost, you get the power of a free 5G phone so you can listen to the latest episodes and keep up with your favorite players and teams. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line so your family can share all the insights, and the power of one of America's largest 5G networks so you can do it all at the speed of 5G. With all that money you'll save and all that edge you'll gain, just how powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Disclaimer, free phone, limited to new customers and 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers/coverage not available everywhere or for all phones/networks. See boostmobile.com for details.
All right, college football fanatics, the playoff is here. And have you heard about Prize Picks? It is daily fantasy made easy. I love it. Tim loves it. And we know that you're going to love it as well. Prize Picks is the leader in college sports daily fantasy, offering more college football props than anyone in the world, including all the stars of the Power 5, as well as mid-major players you might not have even heard of. And there's mid-majors in the college football playoff now. Get a little Cincy action in on Prize Picks. They offer props, anything you can think of, yardage, touchdowns, even interceptions thrown, and all users that deposit and use our promo code Locked On will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. All you got to do, use our promo code Locked On, all one word. Pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you against the projected numbers. And they even allow you to mix sports. Say you want to get in on this Syracuse Nova game, but you also want to get in on a little bit of football action as well. You can do that at Prize Picks. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Plus, they offer safe and fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com. Use the promo code Locked On. That's Locked On, all one word, or go to your App Store and download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy.
Diving into the prop shop now. We do this before every single Syracuse game. We keep track of our hypothetical prop bets that we have made up here. And shaky start for both of us just to the start of the season here. I'm 11-18, down 680, went 1-5 in the Florida State game. We both did hit on Syracuse.
Oh boy, a lot of red in that Florida State
not good.
game.
Not good on our spreadsheet here. You're 12-17, minus 450, but have a little bit of a lead, even being down 450. We'll start with, I think, probably the biggest matchup determining factor of this game, which is how many threes is Villanova going to be able to make against Syracuse. They're averaging 11.8 threes per game. They shoot about as many threes as anyone in the country, and they also make about as many threes as anyone in the country, 6 nationally right now, and 3-point field goal percentage. I'll set the number at 11.5 threes made per against Syracuse in this game, and I'll take a slight over on that.
Yeah, I'll tell you there on the over 11.5. It's going to be tough because they're going to listen. We've seen a number of games early in the season where the ball just gets moved around, your head spinning all of a sudden, and then you see guys who are at the bottom of the zone, at the top of the zone. It's a giant mishmash, right? And this is a Villanova team that I'm afraid can do the same thing to you. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to take the over on the 11.5 here.
Yeah, Villanova, I could just see them sort of whipping it around. Not a lot of dribbling,
dudes
but just,
too. They have so many dudes to not only pass the ball, but also shoot the rock too.
Right. Very skilled all over. So the matchup concerns me. I mean, I maybe could have even set that number a little bit higher, but it just feels outrageous to be counting on like 13 threes. But they might get to 12 or 13 pretty easily in this game, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Who will win the rebounding battle? Another big matchup. Syracuse actually hung tough with Florida State.
They won the rebounding battle, didn't they?
I think they did end up winning. I know it was tied at the half, but I believe they ended up winning, which was big and a change of pace for sure. Villanova's not a great rebounding team. That's the good news. We mentioned they don't have a lot of height. They've struggled against bigger teams this year, and right now they're tied for 133rd in the country in rebound margin. Syracuse is 242nd in the country in rebound margin. I'll say Nova wins it by like 1 or 2, but I don't think it's going to be a storyline of the game necessarily.
I'll flip on you here. I'll take Syracuse. I think the height advantage certainly going to help them, and not just they have one guy in Jesse. They'll have multiple guys. I mean, even a guy like Cole Swider, who's going to be out there as the second or third tallest player on the court. He's going to be the second or third tallest player in the game, no matter what. Pretty much whenever he's out there, even a guy like Buddy Boeheim is going to be one of the taller bodies out there in the game. So I'm going to give Syracuse the edge here. Plus, I think Cole Swider rebounds pretty well. And I think he'll take advantage of this height mismatch.
Yeah, underrated. I think Swider did have a double-double against Florida State. I think
he got a couple this
rebounds. Yeah, so he's been decent rebounding. Speaking of Cole Swider, let's give a prop for him against his former team.
The revenge.
The Cole Swider Bowl. I don't know. I mean, it's not like he hates Villanova or something.
No.
Even when he
told us
that,
podcast.
Yeah, he definitely respects Villanova a lot. It's just it was a better fit for him at Syracuse this year. It's panning out that way. We'll set his over-under for points at 13.5.
Ooh, I'll take the over here. I'll take the over. Listen, those shots started to fall for him a little bit in that Florida State game. I think it's going to maybe give him a little bit of confidence. He's had a couple games now where he's hit some shots, hit some big shots too. And I think even if the three ball's not falling for him, he'll be able to get to the basket a little bit as well, especially without any real shot blocking presence for Villanova. Plus, I mean, it's the Garden. Like, he's a Northeast kid. This could be a really big game for him. This could be like bucket list. I don't know how many games he may have played at the Garden. He certainly would have played the Big East tournament there. But I still think he's one of those guys that'll get up for a game like this. It just means a lot to him.
I'll take the under, mostly because I've just been riding the under with him. And I feel like the one time I'll go over, I'll miss it. Then I'll hate myself for it.
So you'd rather at least help the team out. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he is starting to find his shot. It's also, there could be a little bit of added pressure on him in this game. So maybe a little tougher for him to knock down the threes. But as for who will lead Syracuse in scoring, we pick this before every game. Odds for it, we'll run through them real quick. Buddy plus 100. That means if you lay down 100, you make 100, basically even odds. Girard plus 210. Swider plus 275. Jimmy Boeheim plus 285. Jesse plus 350. And then the rest is kind of just plus 1,000. We can throw in Benny at plus 850, but who knows if Benny's even going to get much run in this game, sadly, is kind of where we're at.
Yeah, we'll even get 85 seconds of playing time in this game. Like,
it's
that might be the real question.
He'll definitely come in, I think, at one point in the first half, but it's just maybe he is the Madison Square Garden guy that you're bringing up earlier. Maybe he's the guy that steps up. But as for who's going to lead the team in scoring, I'll take Buddy because I don't think that Jimmy or Cole have necessarily the mismatches that they had in previous games. You could make an outside case for Jesse, and I know
I was going to, I didn't want to do it against Florida State because I didn't think the matchup was there. But you know what? I think the matchup's there in this game. I'll take the odds here of Jesse at plus 350. I think that's good value for a guy who, honestly, like, this is a game that's kind of tailored for him to get 20 points.
Yeah.
And which sounds outlandish. Like, if you told me beginning of the season that I would be picking Jesse Edwards to be a very viable candidate, and you'd be in agreement with me for him to be a viable candidate to get 20 points against Villanova, I don't think I would have. I would have asked, like, who's your dealer and how much does it cost? Because, like, what the transformation that he's made from the beginning of the season to now offensively, it's night and day. And honestly, night and day doesn't even do it justice.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I think it's a decent shot. Actually, watching back when they played Purdue, Zach Edey is 7'4", and there's not many like him, but they basically just threw it down to him and they had no answers. And that's what Purdue is really good at, and that's why they lost that game to Purdue. So it's definitely going to be there to an extent.
Yeah. So I'll take the flyer here. I'll take Jesse Edwards. Let's have a little fun.
All right. So you're going Jesse plus 350. I'll ride with Buddy at plus 100.
And listen, this could be to your point and to back up your claim here. This could be one of those games where the Garden's chanting Buddy.
Yeah.
Like, this
and you'll be there. You'll be one of them.
I'll be one of them. Yep. No, everyone will be chanting Buddy. I'll be chanting Jesse.
Right. We might need to start doing a prop on will Jimmy Boeheim score the first point, because it's uncanny how often he scores or breaks the standing clap every time, it seems like. So anyway, we don't have that in this week, but maybe for Georgetown, we'll slide that in. Before we get to actually picking how we think this game's going to go down, whether Syracuse could pull off the upset, some more thoughts on the key matchups to watch, let's give you some numbers from our guy, Anthony DeBundo.
The numbers you need to know. Anthony DeBundo breaks down the biggest stats for this week's Syracuse matchup. Everybody! DeBundo's digits. If you ain't taking stats, kick the out the class. On the Locked On Syracuse podcast.
Where you at? Let's go! Welcome to the Cole Swider revenge game and a renewal of an old Big East rivalry between Syracuse and Villanova, as the Orange are significant underdogs against one of the most consistent and best programs in the country. Jay Wright's Wildcats went toe-to-toe with both Purdue and UCLA, and it looks like their lacking depth is showing to be a clear weakness at this point in the season. Both teams rank in the bottom 35 in percentage of bench minutes used. Bet they wish they had Cole Swider, and both teams are pretty experienced, but there's one major issue for the SU defense, and it's how well Villanova shoots from the outside. The Wildcats make 42.2% of their threes, 7th best in the country. Villanova's offense is driven by high-quality shots. They focus a lot on rim and three-pointers. The Cats shoot almost half their shots from beyond the arc. They take very few from the mid-range and rank above average in getting shots around the rim as well. They play extremely slow at both ends of the floor, forcing you to play in the half court, while also preferring to play in the half court themselves offensively, although they can get out in transition after turnovers. Fifth-year point guard and senior Colin Gillespie is as good as any point guard in the country. He's elite at protecting the ball. He usually avoids turnovers. Him and Brandon Slater are shooting almost 47% from beyond the arc. They have multiple players who can occupy that high post position and pass out of it. They have multiple players who can post up as well on the low block. Gillespie ranks 10th in the Evan Meyer ratings of the top players in the country. His ability to hound Girard defensively could be a decisive one in this game. Villanova doesn't typically have turnover issues, and you wouldn't expect them to given their personnel, but 2 of the last 3 games they've been quite sloppy offensively. The Cats turned it over on 20% of their possessions against both St. Joe's and LaSalle in the last 3 games. Uncharacteristic for them, but more likely to bounce back than not. The Cats don't have overwhelming size, but they're very comfortable going 4 out around big men Eric Dixon, or going 5 out altogether and shooting over the 2-3 zone. Jermaine Samuels and Justin Moore are experienced wings. They can score from any level. They create serious matchup issues for this zone. And those Evan Meyer rankings I mentioned, Samuels 16th best in the country, Moore 17th best. For context, Buddy is pretty highly up there on offense, but his subpar defense weighs him down quite a bit in this overall player ranking metric. Defensively, the Orange should be able to score on Villanova because they're willing to allow teams to shoot from beyond the arc at a pretty high rate, but don't expect to see a ton of free throws for Syracuse. Villanova is great at preventing opponents from getting to the foul line. They rank 10th in defensive free throw rate against an average opponent, according to Haslametrics. It's pretty important for a team that has very little depth, and I'm guessing they're going to look to attack Jesse Edwards at the rim and try to get him into foul trouble because given that neither team has much of a bench, fouls could be a big factor in this game, and whether or not Syracuse can keep it close with the Wildcats. KenPom gives Villanova a 78% chance to win with a projected score of 77-69. Bart Torvik's at 83%, projected score 77-68. If you designed a team to cause issues for this Syracuse zone and its defensive ability right now, it's probably Villanova, given how well they can shoot, space the floor, and attack the rim. So while I know Tyler and I will be in the Garden cheering on our Orange on Tuesday night, I fear it may not go particularly well. Nevertheless, still a good measuring stick game and a Q1 opportunity for a team that came in at 117 in the first net rankings, and please do not worry about the net rankings in December.
All right, thanks to Anthony DeBundo. As always, really appreciate him digging into the numbers there. You can find his work at Anthony DeBundo on Twitter. Also follow him as he writes for the Action Network. Keep up to date with him over there as well. But Omaha Steaks is a perfect gift right now for the holiday season. It's a holiday memory that you could share. If you're struggling to find what is the right gift, which I know everyone struggles with around this time, it's always tricky. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift, guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com, enter college into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. For $99.99, you'll get 24 entrees like the world famous bacon wrapped filet mignons, chicken breasts, sides, desserts, and so much more. when you use code COLLEGE. You also get an additional 8 Omaha steak burgers free with your order. Tons of food. We've all heard the reports about shortages and shipping delays, so don't wait. Order the perfect gift package today at omahasteaks.com. You'll get those 8 free burgers when entering the code COLLEGE. Achieve gifting greatness with Omaha Steaks. Incredible flavor, incredible value, and 100% guaranteed. omahasteaks.com, keyword college. So, getting into whether Syracuse can actually pull off the upset here. They did it against Florida State. I said, I think, leading up to the Florida State game that FSU was probably a more winnable game because FSU was trending down. Villanova, I mean, I don't think they're like a true tippy top of the tier of college basketball this year, like in that tier with Purdue, Duke, and so on. But they do have a convincing win over Tennessee at a neutral site. That's more than Syracuse can say, at least right now. And it's a very experienced, very veteran-laden group that is just smart and has played in a lot of big games. So that aspect of it scares me. Syracuse has also hit some big shots in the past couple games, and they played kind of like the veteran group that they are and come through in the clutch. So I think this is going to be a pretty fun game that you're going to here. I think it's going to be exciting. 2 good offenses battling it out. Should be a good crowd. But it's hard for me to visualize a scenario where Villanova is truly struggling against this 2-3 zone.
I'm with you on that. I will say this, in terms of obviously Villanova's got the better win so far this season with that Tennessee victory. But if you look at the team that's maybe playing with a little bit more momentum right now, maybe has their chests a little bit puffed out right now, probably Syracuse. Like they've got to be feeling a little bit better about themselves right now than maybe Villanova does, because right now the Wildcats have kind of gone through Cupcake Central these last 3 games. Their last real game was a loss. And meanwhile, on the other side for Syracuse, you got a big sort of emotional win in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, kind of put yourself in a national showcase. And then you got a big road win to open up ACC play. You got to be feeling really good right now. Now, again, this can be a double-edged sword where you can feel really good and you can roll with that momentum, or maybe your chest is puffed out a little bit too much and it can be the demise of everything too. So I think Villanova will win in terms of the 8 points that Ken Pom is sort of projecting right now. Wouldn't shock me if Syracuse held it within the 8. It's a tough number because that 8 feels just about right. Like, obviously free throws and end of game situations could be the demise of that number. But hey, if Syracuse beats Villanova, then you got to start really thinking this team's legit, because then that's 3 really good wins in a row for you. But in terms of the 8, you know what? Let's ride. I'll be there. Let's take it. I'll say Syracuse sits inside the 8. I can't go and say that they're not going to sit inside the 8, right?
Yeah, and part of me thinks that the fact that you're there, you're going to get a good game. So maybe I should ride with Cuse I wouldn't bet it, honestly.
I will say, disclaimer, the last couple trips that me and friends have taken to see Syracuse
not good.
have not gone well, but they have been somewhat thrilling too. Like that NC State football game I was telling you about earlier wasn't the greatest game. Very ugly game, but it was
13-10 or something, right?
But there was a chance for a game-winning drive at the end.
Yes.
So I'll say it's at least an entertaining game, and I think entertaining means inside the 8.
So I think, I don't know, I'm torn on the actual line, and we don't have a number from betonline.ag. Since I have to pick it for the prop shop, I'll take Nova, but I do think Syracuse has a decent shot at keeping this close. And I think the lower scoring it is, the better it is for Cuse. Yeah. Because Villanova, the only way they win this game is if Nova, who doesn't play against the zone a lot, hasn't seen Syracuse in a while, comes out and struggles. But as I just said, I don't really see them knowing how smart they are, knowing how good of a passing team they are, knowing how good of a three-point shooting, catch-and-shooting, three-point shooting team they are. They're probably the best team in the nation in terms of a combination of passing and shooting. And that feels pretty instrumental against a 2-3 zone. Yeah. But Syracuse could get fine. They could be fine on the boards if they just do enough in terms of preventing the high post. And Villanova's a little off shooting-wise. I think they're going to be able to score. I think they're going to be able to do some stuff on offense. So they could hang with them, but overall, I think Villanova's offense is just such a well-oiled machine that I have a hard time seeing Jay Wright just being befuddled by the 2-3 zone.
I'm with you there. And I'm thinking too, what's the crowd going to look like for this game? Like, I'm trying to envision what the split is going to be here.
It's going to be a lot of cutes, I think.
But
that's just how it always is, I feel like.
Yeah, but it could be a lot of Villanova too.
Yeah.
Like Philly's a very short drive to New York City. I know people that used to do the Philly to New York City commute. Why? I don't know, but I'm trying to think, like, I'll go 60-40 Syracuse.
Yeah, I'll say 70-30. I think when you're doing the stand and clap, you're going to feel a good amount of support.
Yeah, that's when you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The cool thing is it's like there will be some Villanova fans there, but there will still be, if there's, let's say, 15,000 at this game, maybe they won't get to that number on a Tuesday night, but there's still going to be a good chunk of Syracuse orange in the crowd. And when a big shot is made, it's almost going to feel probably kind of like that. And now this is a stretch maybe, but that Gonzaga Duke game, the way it was like 50-50 and there were cheers on both ends, I could see that a little bit.
Yeah, that could certainly be it as well. I'm really looking forward. You asked me before, are you happy that they kind of got the 2 wins, or because it sets up for a letdown spot here against Villanova, or were you kind of hoping maybe they lose one? Listen, I think part of the enjoyment of going to the game is the build up into a game.
Yeah, the false hope.
That's half the freaking battle, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like this right here, having that those 2 really big wins leading into this game, having all that sort of momentum on your side, I'm glad they won those 2 games. So there is a lot of momentum and traction going in, as opposed to maybe if they had lost the game, it would prime them up for a big upset here. But I think half the damn battle is going in with a mentality that, hey, we're rolling. And I think that's exactly what this team has right now.
Yeah, it's funny because it feels like, yes, of course, if they beat Florida State, that's better for their chances of beating Villanova. But from what we've gathered from Syracuse in the past 5 or 6 seasons, it's kind of like when you think they're doing one thing, they do the opposite, or they can't get too good or they can't get too bad. So they just have to somehow end up in the middle. And if they were to win this game, then all of a sudden they're like in a different sort of level of what we've seen them accomplish in the non-conference recently. In terms of reeling off 3 straight wins, they still have a bad, probably quad 4 loss to Colgate, but they still, this 3 wins in a row will be really strong. And then if you added Georgetown,
these 3 wins in a row, if you were to pick these off, it erases all the bad stuff that happened in Atlantis. And I think it erases that Colgate game too.
Yeah,
I really do.
Then, look, I've been a little down on the team compared to most, I think. But if you win this game against a Villanova team that to me is
you're
top
change a lot
team,
of minds.
Yeah, that's a big, big win. And you're
going to be ranked,
anything
probably.
can happen. Yeah.
Right? Like if you beat Villanova neutral site here, you're probably ranked.
No, I don't think you're ranked.
You don't think you're ranked with
3
straight wins? 3 straight wins, Indiana, on the road at Florida State, and then a victory over Villanova, a top 10 team.
Yeah, I still think the Colgate, the VCU getting blown out by Auburn, you can't rank them probably, but they'd be receiving votes, I would say.
Okay. In my personal, they'd get a ranking. And I think it's more of a testament to maybe how the rest of like the 20 to 25s of college basketball have sort of fared this year. And it has been a topsy-turvy year. I feel like we've seen a ton of teams shuffle themselves in and out of the rankings so far. So,
yeah. They're like 56 on KenPom as of us recording. So I think they would leap into the 40s for sure if they got this win, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting. One thing I will say before we get out of here is Villanova is a team that's really good, but they feel almost more beatable than a team like Auburn to me, because I don't feel like Villanova's talent is just overbearing.
They don't have a Jabari Smith.
Yeah, they don't have like a top 10 lottery pick that really scares me, or they don't have a Champagny that's going to dunk all over us or someone like that. So I don't know. It's interesting because what this really comes down to, why Syracuse has struggled in the past 5-6 years, is definitely goes back to just a lack of talent and comparatively to what they used to have and not having the top 100 players. And Villanova has never really been that type of team. So it makes me feel like they can hang with them a little bit more just because it's Colin Gillespie as their best player versus Jabari Smith.
And listen, Colin Gillespie is a great player, He's not Jalen Brunson. He's not Ryan Arcidiacono. He's not nearly
he's gonna
that.
score
Like,
30 now. Thanks.
yeah, I probably just screwed it, but like, he's not that level of guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's damn good. He's gonna be in the conversation for Big East Player of the Year, but he's not like in the conversation for National Player of the Year like those guys were.
Yeah, I would say Arcidiacono was, he was really good. Was involved with a lot of winning teams, but Gillespie might even be just as good as him. Brunson, though, I'm with you.
Brunson was another level.
Brunson's on another level, and they don't have an NBA talent that jumps off the page. JRE is gone. They don't have Josh Hart. They don't have Bridges, someone like that. So they're beatable. It's just how well does the 2-3 zone, the 1-1-3, whatever you want to call it, how well does that stifle a really good shooting team? And I'm a little bit worried about that 1-1-3 thing because I feel like that prevents the high post, but my bigger concern is the wings and how quickly a guy like Buddy can get out on a 3-point shooter. And I think that might even hurt your 3-point defense a little bit, but we'll see.
And who knows? Maybe this is the game they throw in a new wrinkle because it is a different sort of personnel, just a team that can flat out shoot and move the ball on you. Maybe this is the game where you see a different iteration of the defense.
Well, I'm sure you'll be tweeting some from at the game for us at LO_Syracuse on Twitter. It's going to be a fun one. 9:30 tip tomorrow night if you are listening as we drop this.
I don't know where I'm
Monday.
sitting yet, but I will tweet out a picture. And if you see me at the game, say hi. I'd love to interact with some of the listeners out there. So I feel like this is the closest I've sort of been to Syracuse since we started the show.
I know that's the one thing. We never are at the games. We talk about them. I work them for radio, but I'm never there anymore, and it's not the same not being there. I miss.
So I'll be there if you see me. Holler. Love to talk with you guys. We appreciate all you guys that listen to the show every single day.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, thank you to everyone out there listening. Like Tyler said, thanks for making us your first listen every single weekday. We'll be back to recap the Villanova game a little bit later on in the week here with you guys every single weekday. So subscribe now if you haven't already. Also check us out on YouTube.